I'm going to say hello, everyone, and thank you for coming and listening to the Obligations of Memory podcast from the Jewish Culture and Holocaust Remembrance Group. Today, I am absolutely honored to have Benjamin Midler, who is a survivor of several camps, and we'll hear a little bit of Ben's story. So I want to introduce you, Ben, to the podcast, and perhaps you can give us a little bit about your background, both pre-war and the camps.
My name is Benjamin Midler. I was born on June 27, 1928. My family consisted of my father Eliyahu and my mother named Tova, and I had a brother named Aryeh and a daughter named Matilda. My father was a milk distributor, and we had a small milk dairy for processing milk. My father would go to the farms, get the milk, and sell them to the distributors. I went to Hebrew school, and from public school, I went to the first class of high school, and then the war broke out. The German came in September 25, 1939, and because they had agreement with Russia not to get involved in the second front, they gave up part of Poland to the Russian. So we were under the Russian occupation from 1939 to 41. Under Russian occupation, the life was the same. They closed down the businesses. Only Białystok, the city where I lived in, was 65% of Jews. You could hear in the streets Yiddish and not Polish. There was a lot of factories like textile, tailor factories, shoe factories. So we didn't feel any difference when the Russians were in. A lot of people from the west side of Poland ran away. They came to us, to the city of Białystok, and we took them in. The only thing the Russian offered them to take Russian passport, they refused because they left some families in the west part of Poland, in their home cities, and they left a lot of businesses, and they didn't want to take the Russian passport. Because they didn't take the Russian passport, the Russian put them on trains and sent them to Siberia. Their luck is because they didn't stay in Białystok and they didn't fall in to the Nazis in 1941 when the Nazis came back. They are alive today.
Amazing. So let's talk about moving beyond the camps. When you were liberated, which camp were you liberated from? And then can you talk about, let's say, the next 6 months to a year of your life?
Okay. I was liberated on May 8, 1945. I was a suburb of Berlin. The name of the camp was Babelsberg. We were cleaning the street of Berlin after the Allied forces were bombing it. After we released, we were liberated by the Russian, and because the only way to go is to go with Russian trains, cargo trains, the Russian would take a lot of dismantling factories and take all the machinery to Russia. So one of these trains, we brought 25 liberated survivors, and we went, some of them were from Poland, some from Latvia, some from Estonia. We went on the train. When we came to Poland, the Polish people, some of them with guns, tried to kill us. They were looking for Jews to kill us. The officer told us not to go down. We should come with them to Russia, help unload the train, then we come back. He didn't help. When we came to Russia, I worked in a commissary in a soldiers' camp and give out food and a lot of items to the soldiers from all kind of branches. With the time, I somehow managed to get a pass to go visit my parents. I told them I need 2 weeks vacation. They said, I found my parents are alive and I would like to go see them. They agreed, and I went back to Poland. When I came to Poland, I know the streets where all the Jews were living. I knocked on the doors, and and I saw the light. And once I knocked, if I spoke in Polish or I spoke in Yiddish, they didn't answer the doors. Finally, I found a few Jewish people. They told me the only way, there's nobody here in the city. If you should go to a lodge over there as counselors from the Jewish, from Palestine at that time. Only there was Israel, was they fought with the British against the Nazis. They left behind to take all the survivors, whoever wants to go to Israel. Because at that time I was only 70 years old with no family, because I didn't find my family at all. My family was in hiding place and they left. I left because was smoking. There was people was fighting against the Nazis, and they start burning houses. And the only people left is me and my uncle. We left, and that's why we got and taken to the camps. All the thing, let me do it to help, thinking this my family is still alive. That helped me to fight and get me the power, the willpower to survive.
Mm-hmm. And so you went to Lodz, and you went to the Israeli or the institutions who were helping you get to Palestine. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then when did you get to Israel?
In Israel, we couldn't get right away to Israel. In when I was liberated, we had to go to different kibbutzim, community living. And we went from to Italy. Over there, we caught a fishing boat. But the Israeli got it, and they put in bunk beds. We were 400 to 500 people in a small fishing boat. When we come to Israel, the British didn't let us go in because they had a mandate on Israel at that time. They only allowed 1,500 people to come in monthly. So they took us to Cyprus. I was in Cyprus for 6 months in a camp. We slept on army beds like cats. And after 6 months, I got to Israel. And because I was looking to learn a profession, and they told me, we don't teach profession. If you want to go to school, agriculture school, we'll assign you there. I went to agriculture school. I was 1 year in agriculture school until in 1947, the UN declared this Israel should have her own state, her own homeland. And Ben Gurion, the prime minister at that time, declared the Jewish state to have a state in 1948. And because all the armies, Arab armies surrounding Israel declared war on Israel, we were drafted, and I was in the army for 2 years, from March of 1948 to March of 1950.
You know, it's such a pleasure to talk to you, Ben, because both my parents were survivors, but neither one would ever speak at all about their Holocaust experiences. My mom was in Auschwitz with her 2 sisters and her father. She lost her mother and her baby sister. And when she went back after liberation in 1945 in May, she went back to Košice, Czechoslovakia, and didn't like it. And so she wanted to leave and go to Palestine. She went to Palestine, but she couldn't get in either. And she spent a year in Cyprus. So when me talking to you and learning more about your experience,
remind you,
I don't know anything. So I'm using you as a surrogate to my mom. My dad escaped Nazi Germany in 1935 when he was 16. He was born in 1921. He was a little older than you are. And he went on the last Hadassah Aldiot kinder transport out of Berlin with 100 children, also left from Italy. And he went on the ship Galilee, and he docked at Port Haifa. And then he lived at Kibbutz Yagur, near Haifa.
Yes, near Haifa. I was there.
Yeah. So you are providing me live history of my family. It is fabulous. So now you're in Israel. So tell us a little about your life in Israel.
In Israel, after I was released from the army, the only thing I knew is agriculture. So because we were about 25 to 30 survivors, the school itself was a lot of survivors from the war, from the camps. So we decided to go and build a farmer's village, to be farmers. Only I didn't like to be farmers, and I was one of the organizers. So I was in touch with the government. At that time, they called it the Sochnut. We were getting products for growing on the land in livestock to be able to be farmers. I got, during the 6 months, we had a counselor, what is from Nalal, he was a farmer, and he teach the farmers what to do. So he told us there is a school, just girls in Nalal, that's on the way between Haifa and Atzeret. And he told us, why don't we come and meet the girls, because we were only boys. Over there, I met my wife. After 6 months of dating, I got married on the Moshav on January 16, 1951. Not only me, even her sister met one of my friends, and we had a double wedding.
Good for you. Nice. So you got married in 1951. My parents met on a beach in Tel Aviv, and they got married in 1950 in Tel Aviv. My father, forgot to mention, he also enlisted in the army. He was in the Air Force. He learned his craft, like you were in agriculture, on Kibbutz Yagur. He learned to be a woodworker, a master carpenter. So during the war, he made the propellers for the planes and repaired the propellers for the Haganah Air Force. So he fought also in 1948. So why didn't you stay in Israel? What made you, what compelled you to leave Israel? You were making a life, you met your wife in Israel. And what's your wife's name? Again, I know
My wife's name is Esther Shem Tov.
I know you recently lost your wife. How many years were you married?
70 years.
Mazel tov. I'm so sad to hear that you lost your wife this year. So why did you decide to take your wife and come to, now you didn't have any children in that time, right?
I had 2 children already.
Already, okay. From your first,
Moshav, I had a daughter but was born in the Moshav. They call it the farmland, they called it Moshav. The name of the farms were called Kvar Truman. That means the village of Truman, Truman village.
okay.
Because the Arabs would come, we were not far from the border. We were in Beit Nabala, that's a place about 20 minutes from the Ben Gurion airport. So they would come from Jordan to our farms and try to steal stuff, and we were shooting out. My daughter got sick, and my wife said, we can't live here anymore because she's scared. Every night she's crying, and there's no life. So I moved to Haifa, and the only profession what I had, because my father was a milkman, so I went to work in a milk dairy, processing milk. Milk and byproducts. I worked there for 4 years. During this time, my wife's family consisted from 11, my mother's father, my grandfather had 11 kids. 3 were in Argentina, 3 in the United States, and 5 were in Poland. Because from the United States, they find out that I'm alive. They looked up to me, they say, you're the only one survivor, and we are a family, and we want you here. So my wife said, you haven't got a family now. You lost your family. Why don't you enjoy some time with family? So that's why we decided to come to the United States in 1959.
And where did they live?
I lived in Chicago for 25 years.
Uh-huh.
Still, I worked 1 year in the grocery store, and then I decided this because this was not enough to live on wherever they paid. I went back to my old profession, to a milk dairy. I worked 18 years in a milk dairy until my daughter got married a couple years before, and her husband's father had heart trouble, and they had 2 auto parts stores. So because he had heart trouble, so my son-in-law said, you know, Ben, why don't you take 6 months leave of absence, go to come to work in my store for 2 months, learn how to manage it, and then we'll give my father to be the buyer and relieve us from vacation. I say, fine. After 3 months, his father decided, he said I could handle it. So I said, okay, no harm done, because I took leave of absence. I went back to the dairy. It so happened after 6 months, he died. So my son asked me if I want to buy the auto parts store. I said, no problem. My wife even asked me, could you do it? I say, I could do anything what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you got willpower, no matter what profession, what to do. So I took on the business.
What was the business? What was
auto parts, selling
auto
auto
parts?
parts.
Okay.
The only thing I couldn't stay too long in the auto parts because I had cancer, find out cancer on the prostate, and have surgery, and you can't be away from a store when you're not there. And second, I had asthma with bronchitis. The Chicago weather was bad for me. When I came from the store at night, I had to lie down on the floor to catch my breath.
Hmm.
So I sold the store and I came to San Diego. I worked in auto parts stores for another company for 5 years into retirement.
Now, do you think that some of your health issues were contributed from the camps?
That I don't know. The cancer, I don't know from where. The asthma, I think from the camps.
My mother was also suffering greatly. She had issues with her stomach, and she always had problems with her stomach, and she had artery problems. Unfortunately, she passed at 83 from a massive stroke. But again, it was from her arteries. So I always wondered whether the camps had an impact on her health, because she always had stomach issues.
We only wore clothes very light, like it's not a jacket, it's a light, like a t-shirt.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your relationship with your wife. What were your accomplishments? What were, how did you spend your time? What was your enjoyments together?
My wife came from Egypt. She was born in Cairo. Her father was a French citizen. The only way they could get out in 1949 from Egypt, if you have foreign citizenship. All the Jews couldn't live till 1956, when Egypt made the agreement with Israel for a ceasefire. They couldn't go straight to Israel because they had to go to France. So they didn't go to France, they went to Italy. And the Israeli government gave them visas to come to Israel. In Israel, she lived in a suburb of Haifa. And after I met her, we hit off right away because I only dated 6 months. I liked what I see, and she liked what she saw in me. And we worked together on every project what we have. Was a dual working agreement with everything.
So what kind of work did she do? Did she work with you?
She didn't work at all.
She did the housework and to raise the family, right?
Right.
So tell me, how many daughters or how many children?
I have 2 daughters who were born in Israel. One is Tova, after my mother, and the second one is Nurit, after her mother. Her mother's name was Luna. Luna in Hebrew is Nur. And my youngest daughter named Ellen, after my father Eliyahu.
And what do they do? If you
My third daughter was born in Chicago.
So what do your daughters do?
One of my daughters, they were on auto parts until they retired, and they came to San Diego. One of them got married to a OBGYN doctor, And the third one, he was in real estate.
And are they all
Worked in marketing.
are they all in San Diego, or are they back at where are they located?
One lives in Carmel Valley in San Diego, the oldest one, Tova. And the other one lives in Laguna Beach, and one lives in Newport, coast of Newport, of Irvine,
So they're all here.
all here.
Now tell me how many grandchildren you have.
I have 6 grandchildren, 2 live in London. One is a real estate developer, he builds nursing homes in London. And one is a lawyer. And I got one works for Chipotle, he's a marketing manager. And got one granddaughter, but she works for Google. And she's so good worker that she get twice a year. Last year, she got 2 bonuses.
Very good. So now I got to go. How many grandchildren do you have?
I have 6 grandsons and 2 great-grandsons.
Nice, nice. So you spend a lot of time there with your family, I'm sure, if they're all
Yes.
around you. It's
We are
beautiful.
a lot on the Zoom, and they always talk to me. If you want to, I should read you how they think of me. I got a grandson email telling how he is in life, learned from my.
So read it. Are you willing to read it to us?
It's very short, not long.
Oh, that's okay. If you don't want to read it, you don't have to. But if you want to
I
share
want
it,
to read it.
please go ahead.
Dear Ben Midler, I got another one. Grandpa, I wanted to send you a quick note wishing you the happiest of birthdays. I wish I could be there today in all of these days to celebrate with you, as each year makes such a special milestone in the example you set for your kids, your grandkids, and now the great-grandkids. We have always been the emotional center of the family and the rock and the strength that has shown us the way to go about our lives, but we probably don't say it enough to do directly. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do for the whole family, for the person you are, for what you have preserved, to the inspiration you are to all of us. From a very, very young age, I can remember you pulling me close to an understanding stone, telling me little parts of advice and wisdom. We don't go to do it often enough these days, but the chats we did have had been some of the most impactful in my life. Back then to today, I can thank you enough for always being the wisest, the most loving person I know. More than anything, Grandpa, I hope you have a big smile on your face while you're celebrating your birthday this year. I hope you take time to look back on your life and realize it, how truly amazing of a man you are, and how incredibly powerful of a lesson that your story has been for all of us, our family, and truly the world at large. When you think about how your story has traveled to Israel, Poland, Germany, most importantly, you've shown us, all of us, how to build a strong, coherent, loving family, where support one another and where family members arrive to be better version of themselves every single day, and for that I'm forever grateful. Love you, Grandpa. Happy birthday, and hope to celebrate with you soon. Sending you both of my love.
Beautiful. Mazel tov. Mazel tov.
Thank you.
And when was your birthday?
27 June, 27 June.
27 June. I'm making a note of that. So I'm
I'll
going
be
to put
94.
wow. I'm going to put that June 24, you said, right?
27.
27. Okay. I'm going to put this because now I'm going to send you my birthday cards every year.
Thank you.
So last question for you before we go. What's on your bucket list? What haven't you accomplished yet?
My accomplishment,
What is the you know what a bucket list is? It's what you want to do yet. what do you have in, what is the goals that you want to do for the rest in the next part of your life?
That's part of my life. When I see the kids grown up and they're taking in my footsteps, and I hope they'll keep on going this way. And that's my happiness.
Do you want to travel? Do you want to do anything specific?
I'm going to do some travel after I'm now because my wife passed away, and the last 10 years I was traveling by myself anyway. Only now, after the pandemic, I hope I'll be able to travel and see the world.
Where do you want to,
traveling for the
where's your
last 10 years.
first, where's the first place you want to go?
Israel. My wife's family is still there.
You know,
We're very in touch with them.
the Federation is going. Would you go with the Federation or you gonna go by yourself?
By myself.
Okay.
Federation, you got to pay like $10,000.
And I think you know where to go without going.
Yes.
So I want to thank you very much, Ben, for spending time with me and for sharing your life. And now what you shared is going to be seen by many, many people and heard by many, many people. So thank you again. I'll be sending you good wishes, and I'll be sending you soon a happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ben. Take care.